Hi,
Hey,
Dad.
Jamie, got a cute one for you.
Okay, before you do that, I just found out
Before I do, I may forget it.
no, before you do that, I just found out recently that not everybody realizes that we're father-daughter. So I feel like we need to probably start saying
I'm the father.
I'm the
She's the daughter.
daughter, the favorite daughter. All right, anyways, go ahead. What's your joke today?
I went to the zoo and I saw a piece of toast in a cage.
Go on.
The sign said, bred in captivity.
For
It
real.
was good. It was cute.
For real.
I got a whole bunch of these.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Tune in next week for the next one.
Okay, anyways, let's talk about this week. So, we are going to be speaking to a guest who, thank goodness, they were not your daughter because she's 98 years old.
That wouldn't work
And
out time-wise.
correct. But like, anyway, yes. I mean, although I do love being
Couldn't
your
be. She,
daughter.
she couldn't be my daughter.
No, she couldn't. But she's 90 years old. But it's not only that, she is 98 years old and was born in Paris, France.
Mhm.
And so for those that can do the math, you can only imagine the conversation we're getting ready to have.
A woman on the run.
Uh, yes, yes. So should we let her in and have a conversation with our guest today?
What are you waiting for?
I don't, let's
She's
do it.
she's 98. She hasn't got that much time.
That is not funny.
Well, just hurry up.
Oh my God. All right, let's let our guest in.
I'm 70. I haven't got much time.
Oh, shit. That's not funny either.
I think it's funny.
All right, let's let our guest in.
Oh.
Well, Jeanette, hello.
Good morning.
Or afternoon. We don't know when
Okay.
someone is
Yes.
listening,
Hello.
but it's such a pleasure to meet you. I am Jamie, and this is my father, Stan.
Pleased to meet you.
And we are so looking forward to our conversation together today. You know, I've heard a little bit about you, but I'm looking forward to learning more. We normally start our conversations off with the same question with our guests. So I'm going to share this question with you, and you can share with us where you are. Today, if you had to give yourself a number on a scale between 1 and 10, 10 being it is the best day you have ever had, to a 1 being the worst day you have ever had, how are you feeling right
It's
now?
definitely not the worst day.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to say I'll be a nine.
Ooh, I love it. A 9. Amazing. What would it take to have to go to 9.25?
Turn the camera off.
Uh, Very easy. Very easy. Okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
think of the too fine.
Okay.
No worries. So, Jeanette, I am detecting an accent with you. Where are you originally from?
I was born in Paris, France.
Ooh la la.
And in what year?
Ooh la la.
What year were you
I
born?
was not raised in Paris. I was born in 1927.
Hold
Wow.
on. Let me do
98
the
years
math
old.
here. Baby, you look fantastic. Were
Thank
you one
you.
of the Folies Bergère dancers?
Pardon me? No, I was never a dancer. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. At what age did you leave Paris?
I left Paris at the age of, I believe I was about four, three and a half or four. My parents moved to Dijon. You know, Dijon for the mustard,
Oh, yes.
not for the wine.
What prompted
Dijon
that
mustard.
move?
Pardon me?
Why did they move?
Because they moved because they had friends in Dijon who told them that they could open a business and get going. I mean, they were uh, very poor in Paris. They lived in one room in a hotel. I remember it. I remember it.
Did you have brothers
It's
and
funny because,
sisters?
pardon me,
You,
I
did
have
you,
a
you
brother who is 9 years younger than I am, and he was born in Dijon, and he still is in Dijon, and he
really?
still calls me. Yeah,
Wow.
And did you say 1927? Is that what you said? Oh,
18,
eight. Yeah, right.
yes,
So,
19, November 29, 1927
so
is my
I'm
birthday.
doing the math. You have a pretty big birthday coming up then.
No, I had a birthday in November
yeah,
27.
but that was only 99, wasn't it?
I'm going to be 99 at the end of the year this year.
99 years young. Amazing. So you were born in Paris, you moved to Dijon, and then tell us a little bit about that time of the world. Things were changing in the world a bit.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you tell us a
My
little bit
parents went to business, into business, and they were in business for, I mean, they were in business until the war, and then things changed.
What kind of a business, Jeanette?
My parents had, when the war started, they had three stores of men's clothing.
Hmm,
about?
interesting.
And you, when the war started, you would have been about 10 years old?
I was 12.
12. Okay, 12 years old.
I was 12 in Dijon. Yeah, because it was 1942 for me. 1940, excuse me.
Okay.
How far is Dijon from Paris?
Oh, about an hour and a half by
Oh, it's
train.
pretty really close.
Not
Okay.
far. Not France is small. It's 1,000 miles. It's like a square 1,000 miles across and up and down.
Mhm.
It's a small, small country.
So tell us a little bit, and for listeners that are listening, we promo this podcast episode previously talking about how today we'll be speaking about World War II, and we'll be speaking about how what happened in Europe. And Jeanette is a survivor of the Holocaust, and we'll talk about her experience. So, and I know that Jeanette, you speak in schools, you have written stories, you've been interviewed millions of times about your story. So we're so grateful that you're reliving it with us again today. But tell us about 1942. What was going on in Dijon and when this all started for you?
Uh, well, we knew that on June 10th, as a matter of fact, I remember that the Germans went into Paris, and my parents decided to leave Dijon because France was divided in half right away. It was the north of France was occupied by the Germans, and the south of France, that we called Free France, was occupied by the Italians who did not bother the Jew in France.
Okay.
And my parents lived. My father bought a car and we left so nobody could see us leave with my mother, my father, my grandmother, my brother and I. Five in the car. We had a mattress on top of the roof and we had a big basket in the back attached to the back of the car and we went south. We were, my parents, father drove all the way down to Po. Po is a city very close to Spain, the Spanish border.
Okay.
There is a reason for that. Do you want me to tell you the reason?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Uh, they packed a lot of the best merchandise they had in the store and sent it to Toulouse, which is another French city. But they went to Pau because my father had a cousin who had a house there, who had rented a house. He lived actually in Paris. He had a fabric, um, he had a factory of knitting, knitting wear. And they went to Pau. So we went to Pau and we stayed with them a couple of weeks. And then we went to Toulouse to get the merchandise and found out that the merchandise went straight from Dijon to Germany.
Oh boy.
Wow.
So they didn't have any cash because most of the cash was in the merchandise.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So my parents decided to we lived in Pau for a little bit, and then my mother decided to go to Dijon, sell the merchandise that was left in the store, because we were under the wrong impression that women were not as much danger as the men.
Mm.
So my mother went to Dijon, sold the merchandise, but we moved from Toulouse to Lyon. Next to Lyon is a town called um, Villeurbanne. We lived in Villeurbanne in a high building. We were hiding there. And, and my mother was going to Dijon back and forth. But some of the time, she sent the money to us in different ways. I'm going to tell you the one of the two ways. Two ways that she did. Once was in a tube of dental cream because the tubes in France are very thick, and she emptied it and she uh, put a little. She rolled thousand franc bills and put it into the tube, put it in an envelope, and we got it in Villeurbanne.
Whoa.
Wow.
And then the other way that she sent the money once, but that was more complicated, was in my brother's toy horse, a papier-mâché horse, empty inside. She removed the tail, put thousand franc bills in it, rolled in it, put it in a box uh, with some underwear, gave it to a man because the Jews could not go to the post office, to the station. We couldn't go anywhere. So she gave it to a friend of, not a friend, a worker, and he was at the station in Dijon sending it to Villeurbanne when SS took the box, put a knife into it,
Oh,
removed everything that was in there, including the horse, and realized that there was nothing of value. And he didn't put everything there, he just threw it in the side of the sidewalk. So the man that my mother hired put everything back, and miracle of miracles, we got it.
did
Wow.
the man know that there was money in there?
No,
Okay. Oof.
nobody knew.
That was
But I
like a
mean,
piñata.
what happened at that time is that my mother realized that the north of France became much more dangerous
Sure.
to men and women, and she decided to not to go back to Dijon, and she stayed with us in Villeurbanne.
Wow.
Okay. I'm
And
going to
that,
tell you another story that has to do with that, is that my aunt Rachel, which is my mother's younger sister, was in Dijon, didn't want to come south. Her husband was with us in Villeurbanne. And one day the police went into a policeman that she knew because he was on her beat. And he came into her store and he asked her, Rachel, who is with you? And she said, my mother and my two children, my grandmother and my two cousins. So he says, I have to take the four of you to the police. She said, why? I didn't commit any crime. So he says, because you're Jews. So she understood what was going on. And what she did is she said to the policeman, whom she knew, look, I'm going to go with you quietly. Let my mother and my children go. And he agreed. So
wow.
my grandmother, who didn't speak a word of French, she was born in Warsaw. My grandmother and my two cousins, one was 1 year old, one was 10 years old. Mauricette was one, Fanny was 10. And they packed a little valise and they took the train and they went to the division in France between the north and the south in a
Mhm.
town called Macon. So she went to Macon. Do you want me to continue that story?
Absolutely.
Please, yes.
Okay. When she arrived in Macon, there was a group of Jews who didn't know where to go south, how to get south. So a man, Christian, came over to her and came over to the group and said, for a fee, I will show you the way. Well, everybody gave him some money and he quickly disappeared.
Oh, jeez.
So the old lady with the two children didn't know where to go. And at that time, there's a boy, about 14, 15, something like this, came over to her, took the baby from her arm and the little valise and said, come with me. And they went down, they walked south. They spent the night in the woods,
Oh, gee.
and they picked up themselves up the next morning and started continued speaking south, and eventually found themselves in free France.
Wow.
Very happy, but a French policeman stopped them and asked them for a pass. You needed a pass to go from one zone to the other. They didn't have a pass, so all of them, my grandmother, that boy, the two children, went to jail.
Oh, jeez.
How
Okay.
did you find out that
We
story? How did you learn of that story?
because my we didn't know anything because we didn't have there was no television at the
Sure.
time. We didn't have we have a telephone. There was nothing. We didn't know anything. But what happened is that a policeman, went to my parents in Villeurbanne and said, "Do you know somebody by the name of Golda Bloomberg?" And my mother said, "Yes, it's my mother." So the policeman said, "She'll be here in a couple of days." And my mother said, "But where is she?" He wouldn't tell her, and he left. My grandmother and my two cousins came a couple of days later. I remember that my mother and I were in the kitchen while my father, my uncle, my grandmother, the children, my uncle's niece. I mean, there were a lot of people in the dining room. I was in the kitchen with my mother, and all of a sudden we heard a scream coming out of my uncle's. The children started to cry. They wanted their mommy. And that's when my grandmother, who had lied before and said Rachel will come in a couple of days, she admitted to the fact that she was arrested by the French police. And we knew we would, and we never saw her again.
Oh, jeez.
How did your grandmother and your cousins get out of jail when they were arrested?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I know is that they were let out, obviously. Whether the police knew or the jail knew that they were Jews, I don't know. I only know that the policeman came, he said she was going to come, and she came. But about 24 or 48 hours later, after my grandmother arrived with the two girls, we had orders, and I don't remember if it was the Gestapo or the French police. We had orders to get out of where we were hiding and go to the Drôme, which is another state of France. And of course, my parents decided not to go where they told us to go. They put my cousin Fanny, who was 2 years younger than I, to a private school. And my mother told me she doesn't know where she's going to go, but she's going to, wherever she's going to be, eventually she's going to have me go down where they are. I can continue the story if you want.
A question. Did you ever meet the boy that guided them down south?
I married him.
You're kidding. Woo!
Okay, so keep going. This is wow. Oh my goodness. So you go to the private school.
I,
Wow.
so I went to the private school. My parents went to a friend's house, and this is a totally different story. In that house was owned by a man, by a Jewish couple, who owned a factory of blue jeans in Lyon. Lyon is the
Mhm.
capital of
Right.
denim. But since the Jews could not have a factory or own any kind of business, he had a Christian man run it. This Christian man, my in the meantime, there were three Jewish families in that house already when my parents decided to go to him until they found out where they were going to go. And one day, the Christian worker, that I will call John, John was going to his boss in the morning to get orders from his boss, And as he was walking the street, he realized that the Gestapo was emptying each building of the Jews that were in each building. And when they finished a building, they would put with a blue chalk a swastika on the door. So John went, bought a blue chalk, came to the house where 4 Jewish families were hiding, and he made a swastika on the door, the front door, which was a metal door because it was just before the pause, there was a garage, so it was like a garden before. And he went in and he screamed to the people inside, "This house is empty. You are not to put on water, electricity, nothing. This house is empty." And he explained to everybody what was going on. So everybody hid. He left and went to work in the factory. Okay. A little while later, of course, this story I'm telling you is what my parents told me. There is a story attached to this that I was in school and I felt that something was happening to my family. When you love your family,
Sure.
you know when something happens. And I was a very shy, quiet little girl, but I left the class without asking permission, ran to the principal and asked her to please call my parents. Something is happening to them. Now I go back to the story. I'm going to do it a different way.
Sure.
And it was a Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was visiting day in school. My mother was always the first one out of the train that stopped right in front of the gate of the school. I remember it was drizzling and gray, and my cousin Fanny, who was in the same school, would come to me and say, "Come, Ginette, eat something." And I said, "No, I'm an orphan." I was sure I was an orphan. So the first train came, my mother wasn't on it, and the second and the third and the fourth. And I was sure I was an orphan. And it was getting dark already when all of a sudden I heard high heels on the cobblestone. And my mother walked in, and I said to my mother, "Mama, what happened Wednesday?" And she pushed me, and she said, "How do you know?"
Hmm.
I didn't know, but she's the one who told me the story about the Germans coming. Now, what happened is that the house was full of people, but quiet, not using anything. And then 2 SS came in front of that house. They had their list in their hand, and my father happened to be on the lower level of the house, and he happened to know German because he worked in Germany before coming to France. And they looked at their list and they said, "There is a swastika on the door. And if this is on our list, and we haven't done that house." So the other German says, "Let's go in and double check." So, and the first German says, look at the list we have. We have so much to do. Somebody must have done it. Let's go.
Hmm.
All 4 families survived the
Wow.
war.
Oof.
Wow.
That's
Close
one of the
call.
stories I tell mine. Okay, this is one of the stories. Of course, my parents found another place to be, and eventually, I was taken from the school to where they were. But I must say that my cousin Fanny did not go with me. She stayed with her father and her aunt, and she hid somewhere else. Well, what happened is that I went with someone to where my parents were hiding, but I didn't go to their hiding place. My mother was waiting for me at the train. She took me right away to a private school where I spent the next few years, the next 2 years. And my parents were in a cave, and I don't mean a basement. They were in a cave. How can I tell you the story? I didn't know exactly where they were, but I know that they were in the same town I was.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Ask me a question now.
The private school you were in, they knew you were Jewish,
The
correct?
principal knew I was Jewish
Okay.
because my identification card had the stamp Juif, and my ration card had the stamp Juif. The principal had me in all the schools I went because I went to more than two schools. I went to a few schools. But the principals always knew I was Jewish. I recognized other Jewish girls in there. We never spoke to one another. We avoided each other. We
So
made
they,
believe. We we just didn't we didn't have anything to do with one another.
but the principal protected you. The principal kept your secret that you were Jewish to keep you alive.
That, that's right.
And then,
That,
how did they afford to send you to the private schools?
that's a good question. But they had the money, obviously,
Yeah.
because my brother was in a monastery and he was eh, hidden in a monastery, and I was hidden in a school. He was young. He 9 years younger than I was, so he was from 3 to 7.
Gotcha.
So you
And
had to
the
keep
only
all of
time
these emotions you had to keep inside of you for a very long time.
I'm holding back.
Did
I
the
am
SS?
used to it. I am telling my story. The thing is, I'm used to it. I've learned to tell my story. There are certain points where I cry automatically, but so far, this is so unbelievably good. I'm still here. I'm still here.
You must have learned to live with fear
But
on a
I
daily
learned,
basis.
but the only time I was with my parents was the summer. There was no school. So, parents did with me and with my brother. All right.
Hold on, we're
We
losing the connection for a second. And
were
listener, we
together to stay
apologize.
with her.
We're trying to get a good connection, so we're working on that. Can you hear us okay, Jeanette?
Yeah.
Did you go to the cave in the
You
summer?
want me to speak of that? I spell the woman who was hiding my parents, and this is a story by itself. The woman who was hiding my parents, I slept in her bed because there was no room where my parents were. It was a cave. It was a cave. You know, it was not a flat ground, it was a dirt ground. But above the cave was 2 or 3 steps that led into another room, and the other room had a mattress on the floor. That's where my parents slept. And there was a tiny little balcony, about 3 feet off the room that led into a garden. And I'll tell you that story now because in the summer, when I was with my parents, I was taking quote unquote a bath in a little bowl about the size of my 2 hands. And all of a sudden we heard the SS, knocking in the door. Aufmachen means open. My mother went like this to me. I quietly, my father, my grandmother, my my brother, my mother and I jumped out of that little window over there. We ran out through the garden of the woman who was hiding us, and we ran into the woods, and we hid, and we heard fire, shooting all night. It was in the evening. They were shooting all night. we lost each other. I was with my mother. My grandmother was by herself somewhere, and my father had my brother with him. And we waited until the morning. Eventually, the shooting stopped. The daylight came. We got together, and my parents said to me, Gigi, go to the people who live around the corner from where we're hiding. The little girl goes to the same monastery as your brother, so they know you. So I went there. I went on my four. I remember that even though it was summer there was dew,
Mm-hmm.
DEW.
Hmm.
I was full of mud, and I got there and I knocked in the door. I was on the ground, and I knocked in the door, and they're looking up, and all of a sudden they see me, and say, "My God, what happened?" So they put me in a tub. I remember that because it was the first bath I was taking in 4 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And I told her that my parents are in the wood. Would you please go and see their hiding place to see what the Germans did? And they did, and they found that the door had been knocked off, but they didn't do anything else. So it was quiet. I understand a lot of people died. There was a school. It's part of my story, but it's not part of my story because things happened. And we came back into the cave, and I forgot one story. One day, my mother and I remember it was a summer day because there was no school, and I said to my mother, let's take a walk. We were in that cave. No heat, no electricity, no nothing. It was horrible. So I said, and my mother somehow, she always said no. That day she said yes. We come out of the cave, a few steps onto it was a highway. So the sidewalk above our window in the kitchen was up there. We could see the feet going. Anyway, we come out of and what do we see? Two French policemen asking for papers. Okay. My mother has false papers. So I'm not walking with her now. I'm behind her. And I'm saying to her, Mama, do you remember your name? Do you remember where you were born? Do you remember your maiden name? And she says, Gigi, I forgot everything.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm behind her and I'm telling her her name, her maiden name, because, I had nothing to read. I had nothing. That I knew by heart. And she goes to one policeman and I go to the other, and I don't have my papers. So he says to me, how old are you? So by then I must have been about 15 and a half. And he says to me, do you know that the law is from the time you're 13, you're supposed to have your identification paper with you. I said, I was in school, it was a beautiful day. I forgot my papers. And he said to me, I'm sorry, I have to take you to the police. And I'm talking to him and I said, let me go to the school, I'll get my papers and I'll bring them to you. And you don't have to bring me to the police. He doesn't want to hear from nothing. So he brings me, and not far from where my mother was, or the other policeman, he takes me to the police station, and I'm going up the steps, and I'm looking inside the police station, and I don't know what to do. And he says to me, I'm already on the platform of the police station, and he says to me, go to school, get your papers, and don't ever go out without your papers. Now you have to understand. One, there was no school because it was summer. Two, he didn't know I was Jewish because it's not written on my face that I'm a Jew, and I don't think he thought about it. But I went straight in the direction of the school, didn't budge from there until dark, but my mother must have seen me go away, and then I went back to my parents. But this is when I was arrested. That was one thing that
Was your
happened.
mother released?
My mother had false papers. She was
And they worked.
fine.
Okay, I got you.
So you
Oh,
were,
she was
so
fine.
did you just say then you were arrested?
She must have looked at me. I didn't turn around to look at her. I didn't want to see her. My fear on her, on I
Showed in your
didn't.
face.
I didn't turn around. She saw me go down.
And then did you say that you were then arrested? Is that what you said? You got arrested?
I was. He took me from the spot where he was checking papers to the police station. And
Okay.
we went up the police station, the steps, but he let me go to the school. He
Mm,
probably forgot it was summer. I don't know. I
sure.
only know I was a girl, and he let me go. He let me go. And then eventually I went back to my parents. Now I have to uh, say that also now that it was July or August. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
But the last story that I'm going to tell you is one night we were all in the room where my parents slept, and we heard the noise of wheels on the road. We were on a main road, I told you that before. And we started to talk to one another, and we decided it couldn't be French trucks because they don't have any more trucks. It couldn't be German trucks because they're very, very loud. Maybe it's the Americans. We were waiting for them for months. I always break down.
Okay.
Gigi, go up the road and take a look if it is the Americans. So I go up the few steps to the road, and it was an American convoy. And they threw chocolate and spam at me. And I went down to my parents, and we held each other, my grandmother, my brother, we held each other, and we cried because we had made it. 4 years, 4 years, we had made it.
Wow.
I have a little story to add to it. The next day, the next day in the morning, we're outside on the road. My mother, my father, my grandmother, my brother, and I, and Madame Charton, the woman who saved our life. And another convoy passes by, and a jeep comes over to us. And you know, in France, when you're 11, you start learning English. That is the law. You have to learn French and English. So I knew some English. So an American soldier came over to us, and I made a couple of steps to go to him. The jeep stopped. He came out of the jeep. My mother pushed me aside, and she comes, she comes to the soldier. He was gorgeous. And she says to him, "De redst Yiddish? Do you speak Yiddish?"
Yes.
Mhm.
So he said to her, "You Jewish? I'm Jewish." The first soldier was a Jewish
Ah,
American soldier.
oh my gosh. How
And then my
amazing.
mother asked him where he was going, what he wanted to know. He said, "We have to go so and she said, "Take me, I'll show you there and bring me back."
Wow.
That is the next day after we were liberated.
Wow. So many questions.
Where was your future husband all this time?
Yeah, how did you get connected
Oh,
with him
that's the
again?
story I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you forget that story.
One day, oh, you're wonderful. One day, my grandmother, who didn't know as one word of French, was going to town to buy something, and she found herself on the road going to buy something, and then there's a boy coming the other way,
After
and they recognize
liberation?
each other, and that's the boy she was in jail with.
Wow.
Woof.
She got so excited that she brought him to my parents' hiding place. I'm in school.
Sure.
I didn't meet him for. I don't remember. 6 months later, 8 months later, a year later, I don't remember. I only know that one day in the summer, he came to visit my family when I was there. And we went on the road and we walked. It was very close. Voiron was very attached, close to Switzerland.
Sure.
It was beautiful, the mountains and the villages and the river. It was so beautiful. We were walking and he made me laugh. He was, he had a sense of humor like nobody
Was he a
else.
Jewish boy?
He was a Jewish, of course. The point is that this is the reason why he was going to the south of France at the same time as my grandmother. But what happened also is when I was in the summer months, when I didn't go to school and I was with my parents, my mother and father didn't want me to be with them because they were afraid that the Germans would come for
Sure.
us. So my mother would send me to a dressmaker to learn how to sew. I was by then 14, 15, 16. And, and then after the dressmaker, I would go to a teacher to learn short hand and typing. Anything to keep me out of the hiding place they were in
Sure.
case the Germans came.
Mhm.
Well, in the dressmaker's place, there was a girl, two girls, Rosette and Judith, two Jewish girls. And we were working at the dressmaker, and we realized that we were Jewish. And Rosette became my friend. One day, Rosette said to me, I'm going to show you something. And we go to a man-made pool. It was summer, of course. We go to a man-made pool. Must have been a Sunday because we didn't work at the dressmaker. And she says, you see the boy over there who's flirting with the girls over there? That's my brother. That was the same boy, Charlie,
Oof.
who became my husband eventually. And
Oh.
that's a story by itself
Oof.
because it he lived in Paris, I lived in Dijon. We had completely different lives. My decision to marry him had nothing to do with love. It had to do with getting out of my parents' house.
Well, that's kind of love.
And how long were you married for?
I liked him. I knew he was a very wonderful person, but I was not in love. I was in love with somebody else, a jerk.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Another story, Jamie.
How long were you married for?
Well, he died young. He died at 56. We were married 33 years.
And it eventually turned into love, I would imagine.
No.
Oh, and how?
Wait a minute. Who's the
I
other guy
was,
you were in love with?
he was in love with me from the day he met me, he told me.
But who's the other love of your life?
He was a jerk for the rest of his life.
He was
I
a,
saw
A
him.
jerk. A jerk.
you
I
like
saw
you
him
like the bad
again.
boys, Gigi. You like the bad boys,
Absolutely
huh?
married a woman. I was 7 years younger than him, than him. He was 25. And he married a woman 2 years older than him. And after they came back from the honeymoon, she presented him with a little boy she had from an American soldier.
Oh.
How
That's
did you how
how,
did you meet him?
huh?
How did you meet him?
Honey, Jacques, well, when we came back after the war in Dijon, I met him at the synagogue. I met his sister, I met his mother, his father, and we became friends. The whole group we were the Jewish group. I
Sure.
belonged to a Jewish group, and I met him in the Jewish group. And he had a lot of girlfriends. And then
Mm.
eventually he hooked onto me, and he knew how to talk.
Mm. But you went for Charlie instead.
No, Charlie was in Paris.
Oh,
But
got
I
it.
broke up with Jacques. And I remember the day I broke up with him because it was Yom Kippur.
Oh boy.
Wow.
It was on Yom Kippur. My Jacques came to the synagogue in his blue jeans, and I said, it's Yom Kippur. He said, I don't believe in any of that junk. And I went back into the synagogue and I opened the Bible, and something was written that said to me, you're going to make a mistake. Be careful not to make a mistake. Something went into my mind, and I said, Ginette, you're making a mistake.
Wow.
And I broke up with him. And he
Wow.
remarried. He married. I had no idea. How I got to Charlie again is he got um, papers to come to America from his uncle, who had come to America during the war, large ship. And he called my father because my husband was a tailor. He called my father and he said to my father, I have a stock of merchandise in my home. Would you buy it from me because I'm going to America? So my father said yes. And when my father said yes, I said to my father, um, let me go with you to Paris. I want to say goodbye. Rosette is my friend, my
Sure.
mother-in-law. My God, I used to put potatoes and coal in front of her door and run away because she was so poor. She was widowed at he was 40, her husband was 40 years old when he died during the war, right in the beginning.
Mm.
So she was a very, very poor woman. Anyway, uh, what was I saying?
You went to Paris to visit.
I went to Paris and I took a walk with Charlie and he said to me, Jeanette, marry me, I'll give you the moon. He did.
Hmm.
If you remember in the movie Fiddler on the Roof, one of the girls marries the tailor.
It was the best thing. It was the best thing that happened to me.
Oh.
The best thing that happened. But he
Where in
died.
America did you come to New York?
We came to New York in the Bronx.
Oh boy.
That's where my mother-in-law lived. Yes,
Wow.
yes.
So, when you were living in the south of France and you were hiding and you were in the schools, because television was very different then, how were you aware of what was happening in all of Europe? And did you know a lot about
We
the
didn't know
concentration
anything
camps
about
or
We didn't know about concentration camps. We knew that Jews were being killed,
okay,
particularly men, but we didn't know anything. We found out about the concentration camp, like Auschwitz,
right?
when Eisenhower came to Europe. When
Wow.
he came, and that's when we found out because by then we were back in Dijon. We didn't know. We didn't know. There was no radio. There was
Yeah.
no, we only thought of ourselves and we had to,
Survive.
I'm going to tell you a little story.
Yeah.
My father had, with the money that my mother sent, my father had bought diamonds and he would sell a diamond. This is over here. I have my two wedding bands and my original engagement ring was the last diamond that was in that pin. He
Oh,
bought a pin full of diamonds. Okay. And one day my father said to me, it was in the summer, and he says, I'm going to go to Grenoble, which is another town in France, and I'm going to try to sell a diamond. So I went with my father. At the table that we were sitting at were a few men, all Jewish, and one of them said, I jumped out of a train that was going to a concentration camp that is killing all the Jews, and nobody believed him.
wow.
It was too difficult to believe. It was just too horrible.
It's hard to believe even today. I mean, I know it obviously happened, but it's
Nobody believed him. I was there. I could see. They thought he was crazy.
Jeanette, a question. When you live with fear for so long on a daily basis, does it ever leave you?
Leave after the war, he changed me for sure, and he made me very mature. I was a very mature girl. And but I was a very obedient daughter, and I lived in a very bad atmosphere. I don't know how my parents lived together during the war because they never got along, and it was the same after the war. And I wanted to get out of their house.
Do they come to the States also or no?
No, they came to visit, but they didn't come. Well, my mother came with me. and went back.
And what about your brother? What
My
about your
brother is in France.
still?
He is there, yeah. He calls me about every other Tuesday.
Wow. And he must be what, he's 91?
Yeah. No, he's not. He's 90.
90.
He's no, he's 89 because we're 9 years apart,
Oh, and
and
you're
I
80,
I
88.
just had a
98. Yeah.
birthday.
98.
So tell me about you when you came to America. What was your feeling like? Was it unbelievable?
But hold on, you came over by boat or by boat at
By
the
boat,
time?
by boat, by boat,
By jet, by jet.
by boat, by boat with my
And that must
mother.
have been a journey in itself. That was probably,
Yeah, I remember I met a young man who didn't believe I was going to America to get married. And when my mother left, we were by the boat.
Sure.
And that young man came with a big bouquet of flowers for me. And when he found out I was married, he gave it to my mother.
that's
You've
funny.
had more than your share of suitors.
Well, I think you got all my story.
Oh boy.
So you were married, you were in New York until how long?
Oh, we were there. We moved a few times. We were very poor, very, very, very poor. My mother. Okay, never mind. I don't want to talk about that.
It's okay.
And Charlie was a tailor in America, yes?
Charlie was a tailor. His mother was very poor. She was a widow very young before the
Sure.
beginning of the war,
Right.
and she had a daughter and a son. My brother-in-law went to college. He became a professor of political science
Hmm.
in Europe, and he had books written. I have a couple of them, and my mother-in-law had to go back to work. I worked as a bookkeeper. I worked sewing machine, and then after my husband died, I was a bookkeeper.
Hmm.
Wow.
I had a tough life. I had
Wow.
a tough life.
And do
And
you
the
have
toughest
children?
part is the fact that Charlie died. I mean, but I was lucky in the sense that when I found out cancer, the doctor told me he has 6 months to live. I didn't tell him. I told the doctor not to tell him. And he lived 4.5 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And in those 4.5 years, we did things that we would never have done otherwise. We went to France. We went on cruises. I lived as if I wanted to go with him.
Did you create a family together or was it always just the two of you?
Say that again.
Did you have a family with him or was it just the two of you?
Oh, my children were married by the
Oh,
time
so you have
Charlie
children.
died.
Okay, yeah, you've got children.
They were children. They were married, and I had two granddaughters, and the older one went to see the younger one went to see my husband in the hospital, but it was very hard.
You've been very lucky in a very unlucky experience.
I never remarried. I had the best. I had the best. And
And then what brought you to, you're now in Florida. So what brought you to Florida?
Everybody comes here eventually.
I came to Florida actually. I had a summer house in the Catskills, and one of the men had a condo in Sarasota, and he invited me to come to him, and I said no. And then the following year, somebody died in my summer house. Of, and I said to myself, Ginette, do you really want to stay alone for the rest of your life? And and my other partner, Ginette, said no. So when he invited me the second year, I went down with him. But I have to tell you that story. I
You
arrived,
married him, didn't you?
no, I arrived in his condo. He stood in the middle of the condo. As my name is Ginette, believe me, I'm telling you the truth, I never lie. He went like this in the middle of the condo and said, this will never be yours. I didn't sign. This will never be yours. I knew at that moment that I wasn't going to stay with him.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was so stupid, as if I had asked anything.
Wow.
And he remarried twice. He remarried
Yeah,
twice.
yeah.
I I never remarried. I never went out with anybody anymore. Yes, I went out as a friend.
Yeah.
I have a picture 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. I met someone in Pelican Cove. I lived in Pelican Cove in Florida. I
I know
don't
the
know
area, sure.
if you know Pelican Cove. And I played bridge and I played mahjong. I played all kinds of games. And I played him and his wife played, and I knew him for 20 years. She got Alzheimer. And then he moved to another place where they took care of his wife, and he had his own apartment. And then one day he came to where I lived in Pelican Cove. Neither one of us remember the reason why he came up.
But he did say,
Just a
someday this
second.
can be yours.
No, 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 that's the other guy. I'm talking about somebody else. Anyway, he came up and he said, he asked me something, whatever the question was, neither one of us ever remembered. And then he said to me, can I take you out to lunch? I said to him, Irving, I went out with a lot of dirty old men. I'm not going out with one more.
Ooh, you're a tough
And he
cookie.
laughed and he said, I'm only inviting you for lunch. Well, the lunch lasted 7 years.
Well, they
Oh.
say the
And
sale
his
begins when the
children,
customer says
I
no.
swear to you, I'm telling you the truth. His children, his daughter calls me 3 times a week.
Oh.
They thanked me after he died. They said to me, you gave him 7 years of life.
Oh.
He
That's
died
Amazing.
great.
4 years ago.
I'm
He
sorry.
died. But I have a picture here in my dining room with my brother and Irving because he took me to France.
Wow.
Irving
Oh.
took me to France. He was a doctor. He
Who are
Wow.
you
took
dating
me.
this week?
No, shut
Ah,
up. So I listen.
you know better. You know better.
So
No,
Jeanette, you
I'm not
are going to be 99 years old. You have
98.
outlived. Well, you're
98.
98, but you'll be 99 this
I'm
year or
going to be
98.
99 in November.
November what?
I'm 29.
Ooh, another Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So you have outlived many people in your life. You survived one of the worst times in history and lived to survive to tell. What advice, what are you doing to stay alive so long? What advice would you give others that has kept you? You're so with it. I would never ever guess that you were 98 years old. What advice would you give to others to live such a fulfilled life and
Like me, like me.
All I can say to you is I believe in God, and God helped me. I am stronger than I know. I am, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But I believe in God. And I think that God helped me to go with my husband, who didn't believe in God at all, because he says, how can God kill 6 million
Sure.
Jews, including 1.5 million children? But I also believe that I'm here because I'm speaking to the children in school. And I think that this is why my brain is still working. And I'm a giver.
Hmm.
And whenever I give, or if I meet somebody who is a giver, it feels very good to
Sure.
give. There are two kinds of people on this earth, the
Givers and
givers and
takers.
the takers. And I recognize them both. And yesterday, I told Susan that I had the best meal in Aviva in 5.5 years.
What
oh, what
made the
was it?
difference?
She paid, she had two big plates of chocolate, and then she paid for baby lamb chops. Now, I
My
don't eat
favorite.
meat.
Oh.
I don't eat meat. I had 4 baby lamb chops last night.
I'll bring you a corned beef sandwich. Hey, what are
And
you
I'm
doing for dinner
very
on Tuesday?
I am a vegetarian mostly. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
I
Always
do
have
eat
been.
fish.
Always have been.
No, 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 no.
Mhm.
But your clarity,
For some
your
reason or other, I'm not too crazy about meat, but I
sure.
eat chicken, the dark meat,
Yeah.
and fish, mostly salmon. That's it. Oh,
Your
I eat
recall of
vegetable.
events in your life,
I made a ratatouille. I can give you some.
You're just, but it's incredible that you can remember so much and the detail of what you remember. It's amazing. I'm just
Well, maybe because I speak in schools.
could be.
I don't always have as much time as I had. Now
sure,
it's almost
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
That I don't always have. Sometimes I have 15 minutes, which I did 2 weeks ago, I think. I went to
I
St.
saw.
Petersburg Museum, and I didn't want to speak on the bus because the last time I spoke on the bus, I got sick.
sure.
It was going the wrong way. So anyway, um, I, the person that took me there, I don't know if you know Betty Zaret.
Yep.
Betty Zaret is unbelievable. She's the biggest giver I know.
Hmm.
And she said to me, "You have 15 minutes." So, and she heard my story a million times already. So I said to her, "What do I say in 15
Sure.
minutes? Talk about your grandmother." And I knew exactly what she wanted me to say. So I said it. And everybody applauded and people came over. When I go to school, you should see the reaction I get from the children and from the I have a card here from one of the principals. He says, "I'll never forget you."
Oh, well, I will certainly never forget you. And I hope that the next time I'm at Aviva, I'm going to come and say hello and I'll bring you some chocolate because it sounds like that's your favorite.
Not lamb chops. I don't know
No, I
how
won't
to
bring you
cook
lamb
it.
chops, but I'll bring you some chocolate. Thank you so much
I
for
thank
taking
you too.
time.
I
We're
thank you
making
too.
reservations for your birthday, so don't forget us.
Okay, that would be, I have a friend. I have a picture with her. For her birthday, she lives in St. Petersburg. She calls me 2 days before and she says, "Can I come to you on Sunday?" I said, "Sure." Her husband sends me an email saying she has a birthday on Sunday. She wants to be with you.
Oh,
I never knew her before because her parents are the people that I knew who are survivors,
wow.
but they live in St. Petersburg. And I went to the grandson's bar mitzvah. I mean, we connected because of Irving, because
Sure.
of Irving.
Yeah.
And she came, and I knew it was her birthday, so she came up here, and I said to her, "Pick a painting. It's your gift for your birthday."
Oh.
She absolutely loved it. She loved it. I mean, you don't see the paintings behind me. I have, yeah, you have the tiger.
You did
I,
that?
I made that. Yeah, I painted that.
I feel like I could do a story just on all
I
the
have a few
incredible
paintings.
artists at Aviva. It's amazing. We've met a few other
Huh?
of your, we've met a few
I, I,
other.
I, 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 I used to paint years ago in school, elementary school. And then once I made a painting that I have in the kitchen, but I never thought I had any talent. I come to Aviva, I start painting, it comes out pretty good. But, but I'm not an artist. I am a copier. I copy.
It's okay.
I copy an image in front of me. I don't do anything from my mind. I had a girl here, an aide. She went and she wrote something, and God was in it. She's with God every minute of the day. And she comes and she reads the Bible. That's all she reads is the
Wow.
Bible.
Wow.
She's coming tomorrow.
Well, I think you are amazing. And so you speak obviously French and you speak English. Do you speak any other languages as well?
Yiddish.
Yiddish as well,
Yiddish.
yeah. Yeah, Yiddish. That's how you
My
speak.
grandmother used to speak Yiddish to me, and I answered her in French. And then I come to America, and there are so many survivors from all the countries in Europe. The only language we had in common was Yiddish.
Yeah.
learn Yiddish
We're
more.
going to send you the rights to your personal life in the screenplay version. So just sign it and we'll pick it up.
Okay.
You're amazing. I just had a chance to read for the Federation some historical fiction books, and I had not read a lot about Paris and France during the war. And it's incredible how you survived because I read about how Leviton was a department store that they turned
I have to
into.
tell you something. In France, 75% of the Jews survived.
Seven.
In France,
Wow.
not in Germany, not in Poland, not in any of the other countries. I don't know about Belgium, but I know in France, 75% of the Jews survived.
Wow. 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 Well, we are
And
so glad that
Upon
you.
that 75.
that I never told my story before I came to Sarasota. You know why? Because most of my friends came from concentration camps. They say to me, Ginette, you don't know what it is. And I never told my story because for them, what I went through doesn't matter in comparison.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
Well,
understand?
I think
I
your story
suffered.
matters.
My suffering was mostly being separated from my family. I was happy when I was in the cave.
Mm.
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
See, we bring out the best in
Nothing.
you.
Wait. When the American soldier came over, and my mother asked the American soldier, "That's Yiddish? Do you speak Yiddish?" And he answered, "You're Jewish? I'm Jewish." And Madame Charton, the woman who was hiding us, did not know we were Jews. She says, "You're Jews? You
What do you
can't
think you
be Jews."
were? What did she,
Why would
where
she
did she
hide you?
hide
You know
you?
why? But because my father lied to her. He said to her, I am in the underground, they are after me. And she had two sons. One was in the underground, one was a collaborator.
Oh boy.
And she preferred the one that was in the. So she took my father and family in. But she didn't know I was
I
Jewish.
part of like the resistance, the
Yeah,
underground.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if she had known, she may not have taken you
She
in.
would not, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Ooh, whatever
It's
happened to
like
her?
the policeman. If I had my papers with me with a stamp Jew, I wouldn't be here today. But I'm
You had
supposed to
angels
be.
guiding you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
In
you
the meantime, I have
so
to tell
much.
you that in 45 minutes, I have to set up my table for Marja, and I have three women coming to play.
Oh, good. Who do you? So I might know some of the people you play with, but no matter what, thank you so much.
I
Thank
thank
you.
you. I
Definite
thank
pleasure.
you.
Please,
Okay.
I'm so grateful
Okay.
that you get to tell your story to our students, to the world now, and to everywhere. The more we tell the stories, the more people understand. And I'm
And I
so
have to
grateful.
admit that I'm proud of it.
I'm,
As you should be.
you're
I am
incredible.
proud of it because I can still think. I see what's going on with the other people. I'm
Sure.
losing it too. I mean, I forget
You
words.
remember you
I
remember more
forget
stuff than I remember. Are you kidding?
my life.
As we say,
You'll have your life.
Merci,
sei gesund.
merci beaucoup.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Till
Okay.
next time.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, Suzanne. Thanks for your help. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Oh boy.
Wow.
That's a biggie.
I mean, it's so interesting. I like that the last few that she talked about is that she said that she has friends that were in the camps and she didn't feel like her story was in any comparison to their story. And granted, yes, probably totally different and definitely different stories and different traumas. But that's still a trauma. I can't imagine my 10-year-old having to go through what she had to go through. It's just these stories, and it's unfortunate because the generations that experience that, she's 98 years old, will not be with us for, I mean,
Time kind of dullens the gravity of the situation.
I'm so grateful we had the opportunity to speak with her. So amazing.
I mean, I'll tell my story so when I'm 98.
And I'm glad your story is not related to
He
that.
came, he saw, he conquered. Weni Widi Wichi.
Listener, we never know what we're going to get. We never know where the story is going to go, but we're just so grateful that we get to tell them and share them We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you know somebody that should be a guest to share their story, once it's recorded, it's online forever. So let us know. We'd love to connect with you. And thank you for being part of the journey today.
Until next time, get yourself unfunked.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jamiemarco.com. And we will